Now, an Accra High Court has granted a request by Deputy Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame to have it hear an injunction case against the National Identification Authority earlier than usual. The case was slated to be heard on April 9. Now, the court has now set Friday, March 27 as a day to hear the matter. Two citizens, Mark Oliver Kevo and Emmanuel Okra, filed a case in court asking that the NIA be stopped from carrying out its registration exercise. They maintain the exercise is contrary to the social distancing directives issued by President Akufo-Addo in the wake of the COVID-19 cases recorded in Ghana. Court correspondent Joseph Akable was in court as this matter was heard. He joins us with more. Joseph, tell us the basis for the Deputy AG's push for the matter to be heard early.
A number of points were advanced, the first being that the action that is currently being undertaken by the NIA is an important statutory function of a public body set up under the laws of Ghana. He also makes the point that it's in the national interest that this matter is determined expeditiously. And finally, the point was made that in the circumstances, equity and justice require that this honorable court exercise its power under the rules of court to abridge the date for hearing of this particular application. And so he urged the courts to grant their request. It was opposed by the lawyers for the two citizens who made the point that per the rules of the court, the application asking that the court hears the matter early should have been filed and they given 3-day notice before that happened. But they said currently with the hearing that took place today, they didn't have that 3-day notice, Daniel.
Now, we understand the court had some concerns about the fact that the persons who had dragged the NIA to court did not want the matter heard immediately.
Justice Anthony Opon, who is a Court of Appeal judge sitting as an additional High Court judge, made a point that he finds it paradoxical that the very people who have filed the case and also proceeded to file for injunction will be opposing a request that would ensure that the case is determined expeditiously. And so he says that is a paradox. But that notwithstanding, he admitted that indeed the AG's application did not meet the 3-day requirement. But nonetheless, he says the court reserves the right to correct it as if a request has been made by the court to consider it that it was filed within the 3 days that was required. And so he proceeded to deal with it as if it was filed appropriately and said that the matter should be dealt with expeditiously. And so he fixed tomorrow to continue hearing the case. After the NIA legal team had made an appearance for the first time, and they've also filed some documents which the lawyers for the two citizens say they do not have access to and they've not read through. And so they want to go through those documents before tomorrow for the particular matter to be heard.
A few quick issues, Joseph. Do we know who the NIA's lawyers are?
The NIA is represented by Kweku Esiefi. He is a legal practitioner at the law firm Akufo-Addo Prempe and Company. And he, per documents that we've seen that have been filed in court, was appointed as the NIA solicitor for this particular case on March 23. But he made his first appearance in court this morning, Daniel.
And finally, Joseph, the NIA itself has put out a statement saying that this particular registration exercise has been put on hold. Is that not going to make any bearing in this case?
It is. In fact, the documents that they filed in this particular case per what the lawyer said in open court, because the point the lawyer sought to make was that the case could proceed since their documents are no different from what the AG had filed. The lawyer made a point that there are some additional material facts relating to how the NIA was carrying out the registration before it decided to put it on hold that are contained in what that's found. And so, by way of your question, in terms of the fact that the injunction has been granted and is on hold, that is in operation. But with regards to this particular application, the NIA is going out there to make arguments to represent how it was carrying out its registration before it was put on hold. And we expect arguments to be advanced about it sticking to personal hygiene and the social distancing that was announced by the president.
I get the sense, Joseph, that the NIA believes it's suspending the exercise because of this court case, and if they are successful, they can go back to the Eastern Region and register.
That is rightly so.
Thank you very much, Joseph Akable. He gave us some details to clarify that case some citizens are bringing against the National Identification Authority. Now, the Electoral Commission has officially suspended next month's voter registration exercise, citing concerns over the novel coronavirus pandemic, which is wreaking havoc across the globe. The April 18 exercise has proved quite controversial, with a number of opposition parties and civil society groups describing it as needless and costly. The decision to suspend the exercise was made after an inter-party advisory committee meeting on Wednesday. Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Srebo Kweku, told JoyNews it is based on advice by health experts.
We had planned to do the registration on the 18th,
right? But
because of the pandemic, we can't do it on the 18th. So we are observing what is happening around Ghana and the global issue. We are with the Minister of Health and Ghana Health Services and other health experts. So they are also monitoring the situation and advising us. So when it gets to a time they think that the situation is fertile for us to go ahead with the registration, then they tell us, now you can do A, B, C. Then we implement them and go ahead and do it.
So for now, the 18th is on hold.
It's on hold. It's not, if it's on hold, means that...
Has it been suspended?
Suspended. It's suspended. So it can be 18th, yes. So what we are telling them is that we are thinking of going towards ending of April or early May, but depending on what the health experts will advise. From all the discussions that we have had, we are saying that there's no way we can use the existing register. So we are moving forward with the new register, and that's what we are preparing to.
Now, meanwhile, the principal PRO of the Electoral Commission, Sylvia Arnaud, says the postponement will not affect the EC's calendar, emphasizing the registration will come off. We get more details on the story in later bulletins.